Hey friends, Kevin here, and today we're going to talk about some ideals to beat the heat. When you're in a place that's really hot and you can't get away maybe the way you would want to, so let's get to it. Now the best thing of course to do is to go north, go to a higher elevation, but I realize not everybody can always do that. Not everybody has that option. But the fact is, when you're dealing with summer, you're dealing with heat, every 1,000 feet is going to make a 3 or 4 degree difference. So if you're down in the pit, down in the lower half of Arizona or somewhere, you're in a hot spot of Nevada, you can go over and hit that little area between Utah and Arizona, and Nevada's not far from there. You're 2 hours from Vegas, you're 3 hours from Kingman, Arizona, and you can get up to an elevation of 8,000 to 9,000 feet pretty easy. But again, I understand that's not an option for everybody, depending on what part of the country you're in. So, of course, I'm going to have a couple products. I'm going to show you exactly what I use, but mixed in with it are going to be some ideals that aren't going to cost you any money. Now, the first thing, and this is common sense, and you already know this, is shade. But you can end up in parts of the country, again, in the West. Us in the East, we're used to having trees. We're used to being able to get to a tree anywhere. But I've been in Kansas where it's 104, 105 degrees, and there are no trees. And even with your van air conditioner that you have just driving, if you go to get out of that van to go in a store or even roll down the window long enough to go through a drive-through and just have your drink handed to you, it'll take an hour or two to cool that van back off again. It just can't keep up if you can't find shade. Now, in the afternoon, sometimes one of the things you can use are buildings where the shadows are falling a certain way, and you can actually pull behind a building, beside a building, just to get in the shade long enough to sit there for a few minutes and let the air conditioner in your van work, or if you don't have air conditioning, to open up the doors and let some of that heat out. And that alone will make a world of difference. If you can get into a car wash, just to find a car wash to sit for a few minutes to give you enough shade to help get that thing cooled down a little bit. Because in this worst part of the day, you know, from 1 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock, your only real option if you're going to be in these hot areas is to find a place with air conditioning. Meaning this should be when you go to Walmart, this should be when you go to a supermarket shopping. If you don't have those to do, even if you're in little towns that may not have either of those, they may have little antique shops. So you can at least get in there. That's if you enjoy shopping. I do, at little antique shops, secondhand shops. So I will look for things while I'm in there. I will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I will look for some things that are small that I can take with me that I know I can resell later. But it also gets me out of the sun and gets me out of the heat for a few hours. And when I'm in those places that are a little bit unbearable, that becomes the option. Another option for you, but you have to like doing it, is libraries. Personally, I like libraries. And while you can't have a lot of conversations with people in the library, you can have a lot of conversations with the people that work at the library, who will tell you other things, stories about the area, other things that you may want to see and explore. Librarians tend to be a wealth of information to you. Plus, it gets you into a building that is air conditioned. If you enjoy reading books, looking at magazines, reading the local newspapers to kind of find out what's going on. If you have a laptop or a tablet with you, you can take those in there. You can use their Wi-Fi. With my Amazon Kindle Fire, you've heard me talk about before, this is what I use for movies and TV shows. Because I don't have a television in the van, I will never put a television in the van. So that's good enough. At the library, I can download, you know, a few movies, a few television shows, so I have something to keep me entertained at night or on a bad weather day. So it's just using what you have to your advantage in that. As far as products, there's this little fan. It's a USB fan. They make this. They make a clip-on version. They also make a rechargeable version that will recharge through USB, has its own battery pack. These things put out an amazing amount of air for their size. Now, you jump over to Amazon, I'm going to post the links to these down below. They're going to give you offers for all of these other brands to save you $1 or $2. Do not buy these other junky brands. Buy these that I am recommending to you because they are the ones that work and actually have sufficient airflow. But even so, with a fan this big, you're only going to be able to do so much. It will give you some comfort by having air blowing on you. It'll allow you to sleep during the day. You'll at least have it in your face. For something to cool the whole van down air-wise, you're either going to need one of those built-in several $100 fans that you cut a hole in the top of your van, or the same company makes this fan. Now, it's a really high-quality unit. It's quite expensive. It runs off of 12 volt. So if you have a battery pack, you can run it off it. During the daytime even, you can just plug it into your cigarette lighter. If your vehicle's not being run, you can run it for a couple hours at a time without draining your battery. You don't want to let the thing run all night without being able to restart your vehicle, because I can almost guarantee that may take your battery too low to be able to start it the next morning. So if you're going to try to run this all night, you do need a battery pack of some type, like one of the little Jackery battery packs. But even if you don't have the battery pack, this thing is going to be great for moving air around during the day once you find a shady spot that you can be in. And another thing that will help at night in the summer, especially if heat keeps you awake, is going to be one of these gel-infused mattress toppers. Now, for whatever you're already using as a mattress, I'm going to link this down below too so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But you can get one of these. The smallest ones I've found are 2 inches thick. You just put that on top of whatever you're using as a mattress, twin size mattress. They have a twin XL. You can get these in full size, queen size, whatever you happen to need, depending on what size bed that you have in your van. But that's going to make a difference too. It's going to keep you cooler than the standard mattress is going to. It's going to make a few degree difference, and sometimes that few degrees is the difference between being completely uncomfortable and being able to make it until the temperatures cool down. Now, if you're looking for a solution that's going to keep you absolutely cool, unless you're going to put a household air conditioner in your van and you're going to sit somewhere and you're going to run that off of a generator all day and half the night, off in the desert, you know, that's an option. You can do that, but you're going to burn a fair amount of money in fuel. Even doing that, plus the cost of a decent generator, which can get up, you know, $1,000 to $2,000. I know people preach about these Harbor Freight generators. Man, two-thirds of the people I've known have had bad experiences with those things. They've crapped out when they're needed most. So it's great that Harbor Freight will replace it under warranty, but that's assuming you're near a Harbor Freight. And when it craps out on you, you may be 200 miles away from a Harbor Freight. Again, if you're out in the Midwest or the West. So not the option I want to go to. So I don't really try to fight the heat. I just don't. I just either try to get myself to a cooler place if I'm in a heat wave, and while I'm in the midst of even trying to relocate, you know, during the hot parts of the days, I'm going to stop and do the things we've talked about. You know, the libraries, museums are great, you know, especially once you hit the other side of the Mississippi. In the east, it's not this way, but there's a lot of small town museums and things that are, you know, they work on donations. So, you know, go in, look around, throw them a couple bucks. It's worth it it helps them out, and it's worth it to get you out of the heat. These are the things you have to do when you're doing van life in your minivan or a camper van, you know, and you end up in these areas, or you're just in an area that it changes. I'm in the south right now, and it's actually not that bad. It is humid, but the temperature isn't that bad. It's actually hotter right now in the northeast, with friends I have talking to in Ohio and Michigan and Indiana and different places. They're having it much worse there, even though they're further north than we are here. And the west right now, at the time I'm filming this, is just burning up. You know, it's 100 to 125 degrees everywhere. And I can't even imagine that, because the The highest I have ever been in temperature-wise was 115 or 116 degrees, and that was in a foreign country. So I've never been in Phoenix, Arizona, or somewhere at the very hottest time. But it's up to you. You're the one that has to make that decision on how you're going to handle this situation, how you're going to get away, what products you're going to use to provide a little comfort. So just use whichever one of these ideals help you out the most, which ones you can integrate into your version of adventure and van life with whatever van you're using, and we'll talk soon.